Hello, my name is Jack Rummler, and I would like to show you this agent-based model simulation developed by myself and my partner Elliot Bullen to help simulate COVID-19 transmission. So essentially, we have two actors or agents in this simulation, which are healthy humans and infected humans. Um, Healthy humans are in green, infected are in red, and basically their rules are that they move completely at random. So they can rotate, they can move to any tile on the board at every tick. They kind of operate however they see fit. But if an infected human and a healthy human end up on the same tile, kind of like these two probably end up here, the healthy human will become infected. We have 6 different parameters that you can customize. Healthy and infected humans is just the number of how many healthy humans and how many infected humans start in the simulation. We have sick time, which is the number of ticks one person remains infected for before they can become healthy again. However, we do have a death probability, which is the likelihood that if you are infected, that you will die from getting the disease. We also have an immunity parameter to help kind of simulate like the antibodies one may develop from having COVID-19 and recovering from it, which is the number of ticks that after recovery they cannot get infected, even if they come in contact with someone who is infected and still not get sick. And we have a birth rate to kind of help simulate the circle of life to ensure that new healthy agents do appear in the simulation. I want to present two scenarios now that kind of show a realistic perspective of using these parameters to model COVID to show how our model performs pretty well. And then one that kind of, if you customize the parameters in a way that is not really conducive to understanding airborne disease transmission, that it can really mess up the model. So first, we have the uh, stronger simulation. So if we're modeling the beginning of a COVID-19 pandemic, when we have 500 healthy humans and 20 infected humans in a pretty densified area, the disease is going to spread slow, but then you start to see peaks and then a pretty stark drop in uninfected humans. This realistically does model a pretty accurate look of what COVID-19 looks like in terms of transmission. If you look at the counts of infected people over the past 3 years, there's definitely peaks and valleys throughout um, any sort of data that we see. And if you customize the stick and immunity parameters to 14 ticks, which in our mind was 14 days or 2 weeks, and immunity length to 21 ticks or 3 weeks, these are pretty somewhat accurate numbers as to what the COVID-19 pandemic looks like, in addition to death probability and birth rate. Um, and then obviously the game ends if there are no more infected humans. So while this is a pretty decent job of modeling COVID, obviously it's a very simplistic representation of reality. And of course, there are probably more drastic peaks and valleys that this model could have taken in the simulation. But overall, it does a pretty decent job of capturing what the pandemic looked like. However, if we model something with a little bit less realistic parameters, we do get an incredible wipeout of just humans in general. We have one major peak, but then it flatlines, and then a really stark drop in uninfected people, but then that flatlines too. And so you're left with like about a third or a quarter of the population that began, which just isn't like a very reflective image of reality. So obviously there is kind of like a method to the madness of this agent-based model. And I think with more customization and better parameters, we could definitely build a lot more features that makes this model even more realistic.